Hi and welcome to today's video. I have not posted in about a month because I was busy having a baby, and if I look really tired, that's why. She did not sleep last night at all, so that was fun. But Riley June was born on January 4th at 6:15 p.m. So she's about a month old now. When she was born, she was 8 pounds and 4 ounces and 21 inches long. I actually don't really remember her stats. She's sleeping right now, so if you see me like kind of look, it's because I can hear her on the monitor. Let me grab that real quick. Yeah, I actually don't remember some of the stuff about after her delivery, like when she was first born. I'll explain all that because I wanted to share her like our labor and delivery story. But yeah, I don't totally remember everything because of some of the stuff that happened. I actually remember like a fair amount for it being a month out, but some of the stuff I just don't remember because of things that happened like during delivery. So yeah, I was in labor for about 16 hours. I went into labor at like 2:30 in the morning. I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I had a really bad cramp, and when I stood up, I felt like a gush, and so it was my water breaking. I was pretty sure right away it was my water, but I went ahead and went to the bathroom, like changed my pajamas and stuff, and then kind of waited a minute to see if anything else happened, and I felt like another gush, so I knew it was my water. So I called Kaiser, we called our moms, let them know what was going on, and then we headed to the hospital. When we got there, I told like the doctor what happened. She was like pretty sure it was my water, but obviously they have to like test you and all that kind of stuff before they admit you. So it probably took a couple hours before we were admitted into a labor and delivery room. I don't think I was in that much pain at that point. My contractions didn't actually really start right away at all. My water broke and I had like a couple here and there, and they weren't that bad. By the time we got admitted to the hospital room, I was in like a fair amount of pain. I mean, it felt like period cramps, and I have a low pain tolerance, so I did ask for like pain medication and an IV because they weren't that bad. And I think I had to have fluids and stuff before they could give me an epidural, and I wasn't quite ready for that like immediately. So yeah, I got IV pain medication, which helped, and the cramping like made me feel kind of nauseous, so I got Zofran. So as far as labor goes, I think it went about as well as I hoped that it would. Throughout everything, there were like some smaller complications. I would say they're smaller. Like everything was fairly positive. Things kind of went downhill in the last like 3 minutes of delivering her, and that's where it got kind of hard and like slightly traumatic for myself. But labor itself was fine. So I got the IV pain medication. I don't remember what time I got the epidural. It was only a few hours in. Maybe by like 5:30 or 6:30. I asked for it before I was in like a severe amount of pain. So it was actually the right choice too, because I got the epidural placed, which was really easy. I was scared about that because they're shoving a needle into your spine, but the worst part about it was the shot that they give you to numb it. That hurt really bad, but obviously it was numb, so the epidural didn't hurt. I didn't have any issues with the epidural really. It worked kind of too well at numbing my legs, so I couldn't move like at all. Actually until like 2:30 a.m. like after delivering her, like it probably took another 8 hours or so before I could move my legs at all, and it probably took fully until the next morning before I could like move them well. So I got the epidural. It worked great. I didn't feel anything. My contractions weren't, I don't think they were progressing enough, so they started me on Pitocin. So I'm really glad I got the epidural before they started me on Pitocin, because I know contractions would have been more painful, and it just would have gotten more severe at that point. And so yeah, that was what happened like for the first, I don't know, for most of the morning. We played cards, or tried to play cards. I couldn't really like play that well because I couldn't move. Like I had to stay in the bed. But we just hung out, watched TV. I couldn't really nap. I wasn't tired. but everything was fine. I wasn't in a lot of pain. I could feel some pressure from contractions. That's what the anesthesiologist said, was that I wouldn't feel pain, but I would still feel a lot of pressure and stuff like that. So I started feeling, I think around like noon or so, I started feeling more pressure. And they hadn't checked me this whole time. They didn't check to see how dilated it was, because when I had gone, oh, I didn't mention this. So I had gone in for my 39-week appointment Friday afternoon at like 2:30 in the afternoon. And when I was there, it was 1 centimeter dilated, 25% effaced. The doctor was like, you could go into labor in the next week, you probably will, but if not, we'll talk about inducing you. Like, basically, I went home thinking this baby is not coming in the next few days, and I thought I definitely had more time, but then my water broke. So it was completely unexpected, actually, that I went into labor, because I wasn't having any symptoms, and based on my appointment, I wasn't that dilated. And I know that like doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I just didn't expect to go into labor at all. So anyway, because I had just been checked earlier in the afternoon, and because my water had broken, they didn't want to check me again. So I think that's when they came, was like around noon or so. And I think I was like 6 centimeters when they checked. And then at that point, the nurse asked if I wanted to eat something. I couldn't eat like anything good, but she offered some vegetable broth. So I figured I would try that. But when she gave that to me, I could only take like 2 sips. I just wasn't feeling good at all. I felt really gross at that point, and I had Zofran, so I wasn't feeling like necessarily like nauseous, but I just wasn't feeling well. And then I started feeling more pressure, like the urge to push with my contractions. And so I think they came back at like 1 something, and they checked, and I was 9 centimeters. So I had gone from 6 to 9 within like an hour. So that's why I wasn't feeling well, is because I was in that like transition phase. But overall, still, I felt pretty good. That was probably the worst I felt. That, and then they had me do some like practice pushes, and there was still like a lip on my cervix, so I wasn't ready to really push. So I had to breathe through contractions for a while, and at that point I was really feeling the urge to push, and there was a lot of pressure, so that part was really hard, because I had to do that for like, I don't know, an hour or so. So that was more painful, and that was like the hardest part of labor. That's kind of when it stopped being as fun. But they came back in at like 3:15 or 3:10 or something like that, and that's when I got to start pushing. And so once I was able to push, all that pressure, all that stuff felt so much better, and pushing wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It was tiring, but it's still, I feel like I was coping pretty well with everything. I wasn't in a lot of pain. Like I said, I was tired, and it was hard, and there's pressure and all that kind of stuff, but like overall, I think things were going really well. At this point, the main complication was that I had already torn, and I was already having some bleeding just from the exams, like just from the nurse and the doctor checking and kind of feeling where the baby was at while I pushed. Their exams made me tear, so I had to get stitches before she was born, and then they couldn't really feel, because I was bleeding and having these issues, they couldn't feel where she was at while I was pushing, so they couldn't really check me. They could check me with like one hand, and even then they really tried to avoid it, and they had to put like some medication on like some packing and like kind of stick that in to stop the bleeding, because I was just having issues with that. So that was like one complication that I had during labor. And then the other thing when I started pushing is that she was sunny side up, so it made pushing harder. So I ended up pushing for 3 hours, pushed with every contraction. It was really tiring. It seemed like it just wasn't working at first. And what I figured out is that the first nurse that told me how to push didn't really tell me what to do. Like, she just kind of expected that I'd figure it out. Like, the way she explained it didn't explain it well. So it wasn't until another nurse came in and told me to hold my breath for the whole 10 seconds and not breathe is when I started pushing and feeling like it was making progress. So like, I feel like we wasted like a good hour where I wasn't progressing with pushing, because I wasn't doing it right, because the nurse didn't really explain it well. Although the nurse that didn't explain it well had done other things really nicely, like she had me shift different positions and things like that. She had turned me on my side and put a peanut ball between my legs, and I think that's what helped me progress really quickly when I was dilating. So that was good, but she didn't explain pushing, and she was kind of like, she annoyed me when she was explaining it, because I kept telling her, I was like, I don't like, I don't know what I'm doing. And she like just wasn't helpful. The nurse that came in while she was on a break really helped with the pushing. So then I feel like things started progressing. It was still going well. The nurse could feel her head coming, so they called the doctor and all that. And so I was pushing for her to come out. I could feel her crowning. That hurt really bad. That was definitely painful. That's the only pain I really felt with the epidural was like was it the ring of fire or whatever. And this is where like I started getting really confused because all of a sudden everyone started like yelling at me, and I wasn't pushing with contractions anymore. They just wanted me to keep pushing over and over again. And I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know why everyone was yelling at me. I thought they were yelling at me because she was coming like soon. She was close, but it was more like they were starting to like panic, I think, a little bit. I think Nathaniel or my mom told me that like they called in the NICU nurses or something like that, or like just other nurses and stuff came in. Like Nathaniel said that he didn't even see her come out because they were crowding. Or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I had no idea what was going on. It was just there's people everywhere, and they were just all yelling at me, and I was so tired, and I just felt like I couldn't do it. But I guess her shoulder got stuck, and that's what the issue was. And then she also breathed in meconium, so when they took her out, they put her on me for like a split second. Like I didn't even see her. Nathaniel didn't get to cut her cord. She didn't cry. She was like blue. So they took her over to their table. I couldn't see her at all. I was scared. I just kept asking Nathaniel over and over if she was okay because she wasn't crying. It felt like forever before they got her to cry. So that was definitely the worst part. It still makes me sad to think about it. Yeah, that was really hard. That was really scary. They gave her to me for skin to skin. We didn't get to do that's the hard part. After delivery is kind of where things were really rough because we just didn't get to do anything that I wanted to do. I wanted to have the delayed cord cutting thing, like, you know, where they wait like a minute or two. I wanted to do the golden hour where they like dim the lights, it's just you and dad and baby, and I wanted to do skin to skin, all that kind of stuff, and I didn't really get to do any of that. They let me do skin to skin for a little bit, but I feel like it probably wasn't as long as most people usually get if everything goes well. So I ended up just having a lot of bleeding. I had secondary tears, so the doctor was like stitching that up, and she was like, when we were doing skin to skin, she was kind of telling me what she was doing. She was like pulling out clots and like doing all this stuff that was like really uncomfortable, but it wasn't painful because I had the epidural still. But she was stitching for a long time, and my stitches like wouldn't stop bleeding. So they had to do the medication thing with the packing again. They had to give me a catheter. Well, I still had a catheter because the epidural hadn't worn off yet, but they were going to keep it until the next morning because of the packing and all that kind of stuff that had been going on with my stitches. I lost a decent amount of blood. They said when I was recovering, they actually wouldn't let us go home. The nurse had asked if we wanted to go home on Sunday, and we said yes, but then she came back and said they weren't going to let me go home that day because I had hemorrhage, which they hadn't, like, I didn't know that until Sunday, but I guess I hemorrhaged, so I was feeling really, really, really horribly out of it. I hadn't eaten in 16 hours, more than that, probably a whole day, because I had a snack. I remember I had crackers at like 10 o'clock at night, so that was actually a good choice to have a snack before bed. But I hadn't eaten since I had some crackers at 10 o'clock at night on Friday. So I was just really, really out of it. I felt really sick. I just felt horrible. I don't remember anything. I don't remember, this part makes me like emotional to talk about because this is the part that was like really horribly like traumatic for me because I felt like I was gonna die. Like I felt awful. I like barely remember anything. I didn't get to see Riley's face for like 3 hours after she was born. I was holding her skin to skin, but I couldn't really look at her because I was so weak and couldn't really just hold her well. And I didn't get the chance to look at her for like a long time. And they had taken her away and stuff like that too to check on her and all that. And I'm sure they did some additional like checking just because she wasn't breathing when she came out. So I'm sure she was kind of out of my arms longer than normal too. But yeah, our Nathaniel's parents came in, my dad came in, my sister came in, my grandma was there. They all came in and saw her for like a second and then left. And I just don't really remember like, I know they said like hi to me. I think Nathaniel's sister was there too. They like came in just like a couple of them at a time, not all of them at once. I know they all kind of said hi and like I think hugged me and stuff, but I like honestly I remember my grandma hugging me. And I think Sarah did too, but I don't remember anything from that. I know they all came in to see her for like a second, and then left pretty quickly, and then they all came back the next day, and I was feeling much better, and I remember that, and that was nice. But it was just, I just felt like I was gonna die for like 3 hours after delivering her. I felt awful. The nurse brought me food, and I just couldn't really eat anything. I had still had Zofran, like I had asked for some more. So I wasn't feeling sick. I didn't think I was gonna throw up or anything like that. I think if I didn't have Zofran, I would have. So that was also a good choice. But I like just sipped on some juice and just tried to eat small bites. I just ate what I could. Yeah, I just felt really horrible. And then it felt like forever before they could bring us upstairs to like a recovery room. And I couldn't move this whole time. So like trying to, I had to go upstairs like in a gurney, like I couldn't walk. Some people I guess are able to walk after the epidural wears off, but I still couldn't walk. So they put me in a gurney, and that's the first time I saw Riley, is when they put her on me to bring us upstairs. I was able to look at her face and like actually hold her, which was really nice. Yeah, they brought us upstairs, and by then I was starting to finally feel better. Yeah, I think part of it was just all the moving around, switching beds and all that, like to go upstairs, like just kind of knocked me out of whatever was going on. And I think also just drinking juice, all that stuff kind of finally settled, and having a little bit of food in me and stuff made me feel a lot better. So when we got upstairs, I think I had more juice, and then we had brought some snacks. So I ended up eating a snack because it wasn't like dinner time or anything. Like the nurse was able to bring me some food when we were downstairs, but it wasn't, we missed dinner because I was still in labor. So I just had like whatever snacks. We had like one of those P3 protein packs, and I think I ate some of that, and that made me feel a lot better too. So we were in the hospital until Monday afternoon, and Sunday morning they took out my catheter. They like took out the packing, checked on all my stitches and stuff, and I think I was doing okay. Overall, I think my recovery went pretty well. At this point, a month postpartum, I feel totally fine. I had a really bad swelling in my legs. Once we got home, my feet, from my toes to my thighs, swelled up a ton, and I think it's because I had Pitocin and from pushing for so long. I could barely walk probably for like a week and a half. But luckily Nathaniel was home the first week, and then my mom came and helped me. So I wasn't by myself till I was about 2 weeks postpartum. And at that point I could move around a little bit better. But my ankles and feet were still swollen up until a few days ago. They're normal now, which is great. And eventually like it was easier to walk even though I was still swollen. Even though my feet and ankles were still swollen, I could finally walk around on them. So that was good, but it was like a week and a half of not being able to walk. Obviously I had like basic postpartum pain from like my stitches and stuff like that. I didn't have a ton of cramping or anything like that. I didn't really take pain medication very long, maybe the first couple days. And even then I feel like I skipped doses because I didn't really need it. Because like I said, I wasn't cramping very much. We tried breastfeeding for a while. It wasn't really going well. She wasn't gaining weight. So at this point, now that she's a month old, we have switched over to formula. I still pump a couple times a day, so she gets some breast milk in a bottle, but we aren't breastfeeding anymore. That was something we changed in this last week. She didn't hit her birth weight again until 3 weeks. We had a bunch of lactation consultant appointments, due weighted feeds and stuff, and she just wasn't getting what she needed from me. So we were triple feeding, which meant we were nursing, and then I was pumping right after, and then we were giving her an ounce in a bottle of either pump milk or formula, and it was just too much to keep up with on my own once Nathaniel went back to work. Feeding her that way, I was just so exhausted, so it just was better for us to switch over. So that's where we're at with that now. She's doing well. She doesn't sleep through the night or anything like that, but you know, she sleeps a good couple hour stretches. That's improved since her first couple weeks, because for a while she wasn't sleeping in the bassinet at night, and we just kind of had to take turns staying up with her. Last night was a bad night. I don't know what happened last night. She didn't go to bed till like 5. That was annoying. She doesn't do that. She didn't nap yesterday, so I think she was overtired and was just fighting sleep. But she's been napping really well today. Like I said, she's asleep right now. And I'll show you her once she wakes up. But yeah, she's been sleeping really well today, so that's good. I got a nap in. But yeah, overall, I'd say like my experience was pretty positive. Like I said, it was like the last 2 minutes of delivering her, and then after delivery, that first night was really difficult. Some of the experience in the hospital wasn't great. Like I said, breastfeeding just right away, it wasn't, sometimes she'd feed well and sometimes she didn't. And so she was just screaming nonstop in the hospital because I think she was just really hungry. She wasn't really eating from me. And we asked a nurse for formula, and she was really rude about it. And like told us they didn't have any or something. Like it was just such a weird thing, because then we ended up talking to like someone, or I don't know. It just didn't make sense the way she like reacted to us asking to like just give her some formula, because she just nonstop screamed in the hospital because she was hungry. And that was kind of how her first week at home was. She just like screamed nonstop, and it's because she wasn't eating enough. She wasn't getting enough food. Even when milk came in, she wasn't getting enough. We tried nipple shields, we tried different stuff, but she just was losing weight, and just when we were in the hospital, she dropped weight, but it wasn't enough that they were concerned. But by the time we went to her appointment 2 days after we got home, she had dropped enough weight that they were concerned, so we had to keep going back for weight checks, and she wasn't gaining anything until we started the supplementing triple feeding system. But like I said, that was just really difficult to keep up with, especially once Nathaniel went back to work. Actually, I think we even started that after he was back at work, and it was just ridiculous because I nursed her and then I would need to pump, and I kind of needed to pump right away so that there's enough, like my milk had time to kind of be ready for her to eat again. But if I put her down right after feeding, she would scream the whole time I was pumping, and that was really stressful. And it was just, it's hard because when you're triple feeding, it helps if there's a second person because they can give the baby a bottle while you pump. But I was doing it all by myself. So I was nursing, then giving her a bottle, and then trying to pump, but she was screaming the whole time, and it was just too hard. So now, yeah, we're giving her a formula. We just get the Sam's Club brand sensitive formula because she spits up a lot. She's what the pediatrician said is a happy spitter, which is so fun. We do laundry every day. But, you know, things are going well now. Yeah, it just, delivery wasn't as great as we hoped it would be. Like I said, labor up until delivery was like exactly what I wanted, but things are definitely difficult. I have questions for my doctor at my follow-up appointment, and I'll probably give you an update on that stuff because I have questions about like next time we have a baby, if the bleeding's going to be an issue, if getting stuck's going to be an issue. You know, if that's something we would consider, like if we would consider planning a C-section for next time, because those kinds of things affect whether or not we want to have more kids. I definitely do want like one more kid. We had talked before about having 3 kids, but now I'm not really 100% sure. It really depends on what my doctor says and what happens with our next baby. You know, if we decide to have a next baby. Yeah, all that really, really depends on how my follow-up appointment goes and how my doctor answers questions about what will happen next time, because I don't necessarily want to go through the same experience that we went through this last time, because it was really traumatic for my body and for me afterwards, like not getting to really see my baby for hours after she was born, even though I was there and I was holding her, like being so out of it, I couldn't remember seeing her or like really process it or like, you know, be there for that moment. Like that was just really difficult, and I don't really want to go through that again. So we'll see. Anyway, that is the story of Riley. Like I said, I will show you her as soon as she wakes up. Alright, so this is Riley. She just ate and spit up all over her shirt. I gave her a bath right before she ate because she's going to go meet Nathaniel's grandma and aunt tonight, and I want her to smell nice. But yeah, she just peeked everywhere. Yeah. She's got lots of hair. And she's starting to get chubbier. She's not smiling It looks like she is, but that's just a reflex smile. She's not doing like social smiles yet. Soon, hopefully, in the next couple weeks. She's still got to wear her mittens because she'll scratch her face, even though I cut her nails yesterday. She likes to blow spit bubbles. Her eyes look blue, but they're probably going to turn brown. And then her hair, I don't know. It looks kind of light, but I don't know about that yet either. Say hi. You say hi? I'm going to try to put her back to sleep now, but this is Riley. She's pretty cute. Thanks for watching today's video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more. Hopefully you'll see us soon. Oh no, she's getting mad. I'm gonna try to vlog more, hopefully, now that we have a better routine. But yeah, anyway, I will see you next time. Bye.